You hear a lot these days about the patriarchy. The patriarchy are a lot of trouble and incompetent, and you also hear that the patriarchal rule, in inverted commas, so to speak. But I tend to believe also in the matriarchy a lot. If you look at the old country, the UK, there is a queen on the throne now. There is a queen as the figurehead of state on all the coinage, and the feminine is really very powerful. There is, I think, a great equality, and this equality is not only materialistically speaking, but spiritually speaking. And I see myself as someone with an open mind. I wasn't brought up in any dogmatic religious structure. I was brought up a very lackadaisical Christian, basically only celebrating Christmas and with no real, instilling any biblical dogma into me as a child. But I do see myself as having an open mind, and part of this open-mindedness, I believe that I have had experience of what I would term as the feminine counterpart of God, the goddess. So, historically speaking, there's a lot of evidence for goddess cultures, goddess societies, goddess cults, goddess religions, and spiritually, the female spirit as a counterpart to the divine male spirit is probably, I find from my own personal experience, equally as potent and as influential. I know it's hard to ground spiritual experience and spiritual realization and receive spiritual knowledge. It's hard to ground that into the material plane, but I tend to do that through manifesting visions or inspirations that I've had regarding spiritual concepts. So one of the simplest ways to demonstrate this is in tattoo. And quite a few years ago now, I got a tattoo on my left shoulder. I was inspired to get this tattoo from a rainbow tribe gathering in Tasmania, where I was walking along a path in the Tasmanian outback, in the big giant bush paddock that we were having the Rainbow Tribe Gathering Festival in. I was walking along the path, and I had basically a vision in the astral realm of a woman I knew who was also an aspect of a goddess. And so this was a goddess, Titania. So Titania is a fairy goddess. And what this aspect of Titania appeared to me to say was, she touched me on my left shoulder and said, "Goddess bless thee." And when she touched me on my shoulder, I realized that I should get tattooed in kind of script on my shoulder the words "Goddess bless thee." And this is "Goddess bless thee," Thee, which is an archaic form of you. So it's basically like saying Goddess bless you, but in Old English, so to speak. So I ended up doing this, getting this tattoo done. I went to the Celtic Dragon tattoo parlour in King Street, Newtown, and it is basically a Celtic tattoo. Like the Celtic people also had the religion of the great goddess, and in this religion there's lots of different myths about the goddess and different traditions regarding the goddess, and so it all worked quite well that the Celtic Dragon tattoo parlour, the lady in there, Kiwi Kim, because at this point in my life I was practicing spirituality that was really revolving around the goddess, and so I was getting all my tattoos done by female tattoo artists, and this was a way of, I suppose, empowering the feminine in my own psyche, that my initiation, my sacrificial initiation of these spiritual tattoos was being presided over by women. And so this tattoo worked out well, and it's been a trigger for other goddess mysteries for me as well, but I suppose you can see that from this vision, this whole series of events has unfolded, and I find if you're on the right spiritual path, there's triggers, there's synchronicities, there's progress made along the spiritual path by decisive action and by sacrifice. So here's that tattoo I was telling you about. Goddess bless thee. As you can see, it seems quite formal and correct. And an interesting thing about the action of reading this blessing, Goddess bless thee, it creates an echo in the psychic realm that when someone looks at my tattoo, they'll read it. I've had this happen on many occasions. They'll read it, either read it internally, or on occasion they will actually say out loud, Goddess bless thee, and which of course I reply, thank you. But you can see it almost tricks the ordinary mundane human into channeling the energies of the goddess in blessing, which I find a bonus point to just having the blessing of the goddess on my shoulder. And another thing, when you turn it slightly on the side like this, you can see it says God bless. It shows the union of the goddess and the god, and the blessing of the goddess and the god, which is basically a blessing of the old religion of Great Britain, which sees the unity of the goddess and the god as the sacred marriage, which is a very spiritual and holy thing. So this is that tattoo, and this is the goddess energy that I've channeled through that one vision all those years ago in Tasmania. It's just had a ripple effect and follows me all through my life with the energy of the goddess. And you can probably see here on my chest is another tattoo. This was also designed by me and inspired by yet another astral vision. This was of an aspect of the goddess Bridget, or Bree, or Bride, who's a Celtic goddess. And I had this vision when I was living out the back again in the forest, up the north coast this time in Rosebank. And just in a hedge there, I saw this vision of the goddess Bride coming out of the greenery and carrying this symbol with her and communicating to me to get this symbol that you can see here tattooed. And so I proceedingly did that. This was again at the Celtic Dragon tattoo studio, and Kiwi Kim again was a tattoo artist, a lady tattoo artist. She did a great job. It's got biomechanics inside. Here you can see the metal tubes, and that was Kim's idea. My original idea was just to get it tattooed in red. But Kim put a lot more work into it and put a lot more effort into it and made a real artwork of it, a real piece. But basically this is also another very mystical tattoo that symbolizes lots of different energy. There's a real Shiva Shakti in this. If you don't know what Shiva Shakti is, this is a Hindu divine concept of the goddess and the god, again, united as one, Shiva being the god, Shakti being the goddess. And here you see the trident of Shiva, as well as the drum, Shiva beating his cosmic drum. But it was also inspired by the goddess. So it's a real goddess symbol, a Celtic symbol. And if you look on my forehead, there's the 9-pointed star. This was idea of the 9-pointed star. I was inspired to get there. The 9-pointed star in some mystery school circles is seen as the star of the muses, or the goddess as well. And there were 9 muses in Greek mythology. And also the 9 is a cosmic number. It's really connected with so many different mysteries, the number 9, and derivatives of 9, and multiples, and etc. But that was another really mystical and powerful symbol connected with the goddess that I channeled.